Hi everyone, welcome to the Sunday live stream. I am joined tonight with Richard from Richard's Vinyl Tap House. And our special guest tonight is Jeff Collins, one of good friends of mine. Asked Jeff to jump on. He's got some really good stories he's going to tell you all this evening. But we'll just go through the panel real quick. Rich, what have you been up to this week, mate?
What have I been up to? I did a live stream with you on Friday that actually did pretty well. It was all record store day list chat, talking about Rocktober and getting some really good insight from Joe about kind of the ins and outs of being a small business record shop and how, like, when Taylor Swift release comes out and they don't get it, how it impacts their clientele. And yeah, it was pretty eye-opening. Other than that, that's about it. It's been a slow weekend and I'm happy for that.
Yeah, I'm just kind of I felt for Joe slightly. So he was kind of a bit disappointed because he's the face of that shop and letting customers down. Trying to get people through the door is hard enough in a record shop, let alone trying to disappoint people at the same time. So I did feel for him slightly. So yeah. Right, Jeff, do you want to tell everybody kind of who you are and
I'm Jeff. Yeah, I'm Jeff. No, I mean, basically, I've been a kind of broadcaster for about 30 years. I started out reading the news on various local radio stations and national radio stations before moving into TV as a reporter. And then at some stage, about almost 20 years ago now, actually, I started doing a rock show on radio, on Sunshine Radio, one of the last ever FM stations in the UK, before it became DAB only. And then about 5 years ago, switched to Hard Rock Hell Radio, where every Wednesday I do a show called The Rock Jukebox. And I've written a few books as well, one about the Rockfield studios in South Wales, where the likes of Queen and Motorhead and Judas Priest, Rush, all recorded, and also a book about Stuart Cable, the late great Stuart Cable from the Stereophonics, talking about, having left the band, could he make the band that followed as big as the Stereophonics, which was a great experience. So yeah, I've been in TV and radio about 30 odd years and had total fun, enjoyed every minute of it.
Cool, mate, cool. And you've also as well introduced the snooker on TV.
Oh yeah, when I was on BBC TV, I had I left news briefly for about 8 years, where I presented sports. I was very lucky enough to present international rugby. As a kid, it was my dream, presenting Welsh rugby and international football. I did the snooker and the bowls as well. And that was great. Working in sport for 8 years was great fun. And also did Sky Sports News, their Soccer Saturday, which is, a hugely watched show. Every pub in the UK has it on with those, ticker scores going across. And I used to report most Saturdays from various games, giving people updates whenever there's a goal or some action to report on. That was great fun,
Cool. So there's an insight to Jeff. So yeah, I always, every time I go for a drink with Jeff, I'm always asking him questions, kind of battering him a bit, going, "Well, when did this happen? When did that happen?" So, and we've got a kind of connection because I was really good friends with Stuart from the Stereophonics, and I've got the last ever drum skin signed to me from him. And then I didn't realize, I was talking to Jeff one night in the pub, and he was like, "Yeah, I wrote the book."
Yeah. Well, I mean, Stuart was such a lovely guy. When we were doing the book, a friend of mine from Australia, she likes drummers and she married a drummer. Her son now is a drummer and she's a music promoter. And I told her I was going to, have a bit of a tour around Cumama with Stuart. He's going to show me all the Stereophonics horns. And she said to me, "Oh, you couldn't get his autograph for me, could you? That would just make my day." So I said, "Yeah, I'll ask him, And we were in this pub in Cumberland, and we had one of the flyers for his new band, Killing for Company. And I said to him, "Look, Stuart, do you mind signing this to my friend for me? It would make her day. She's a big fan of yours." And he just looked at me and said, "Jeff, I can do better than that. Follow me." So we went outside, got into our cars, drove to his house down the road. He said, "Stay there a moment." He raced upstairs, came back down with 2 huge drumsticks and a drum skin, which he'd signed to her. Said, "There you go, give them to her." Which was a lovely thing to do,
Yeah, he was a cool guy, Stu. Yeah, as we used to call him, Fatty. That's his nickname. That's his nickname. But yeah, cool, mate. Cool. As we go on through this live stream now, Jeff's going to explain a bit more stories and insights to the music industry and that kind of thing. So I thought it'd be fun. So, right. Okay, let's have a look at the quick comments here. If it works. Let's try again. Adrian. Hi, Chris. And hey, Richard, Jeff. So the comments have started already. Okay, so I will kick things off this evening. So we were going to do a Discogs originally. And I thought, because we got Jeff on, he's big into his CDs. So I thought, let's just pick 10 random ones and just go from there. Okay. So that's what I've had Jeff to do. I've done the Discogs thing. I believe Richard's done the Discogs thing as well. So we're going to show. And this was the first pick that came up. And it is Buckingham and Nicks. This is the Rhino High Fidelity release that I think I received last month, I want to say, September time. Really good album. This hasn't been pressed in such a long time. And then when I found out that Rhino were pressing this version, I felt like I had to get it. So I picked this up and it's really cool. Really enjoy it. Really good pressing on it. And yeah, so there's Buckingham and Nicks.
It's not been available for a while, has it?
A long time. A long time. Do you know how long it's been, Rich? Buckingham and Nicks, that's been what, 70s?
Well, yeah, I want to say it was early. Well, it had to have been early because Rumors came out in the mid 70s. So yeah, 73 maybe.
I was going to say 5'1", but I just don't know how long.
It's been a while.
Yeah, so yeah, that was my first pick. Literally just done the Discogs shuffle, and that came up. I don't know if I've shown it before. I might have, but yeah, I'm gonna do next week. I'm gonna do. I keep saying this every week, but I will do September. What I picked up, and there's about 8 or 9. So yeah, it's cool. Adrian's saying Buckingham Nicks awesome. Yeah, it is cool pressing. If anybody can get it, I would recommend it. I know they've sold out of the numbered ones that I've got. I think mine was quite low actually. Not that I was worried about the numbers itself. I'll show. So there's the front. There's the original for the back, like a green kind of picture. And there's the inside. Look how young they look. I know
They were.
this was a long time ago. So this was out of 5,000 copies pressed. I know they've done color variants since, and you can pick up the non-high fidelity ones. But out of 5,000, this was 191. So that's quite low.
That is quite low. Nice.
So I know it's a gimmick. I get it. I get it. It's like, oh, you have to get it because it's numbered. Yeah.
You'll be getting a call from Buckingham and Nicks saying, thanks for buying one of the first editions. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, so very cool. Right, okay, we'll head off to the Tap House now with Richard. So what was your first pick, mate?
I did a randomizer because I have stuff on Discogs where you do the shake shuffle thing, but all of my things on Discogs, it's like 1/10 of everything I have. So it's easier just to do a randomizer, and I pulled from cubes. So the first one that came up was a group from South London. One of my favorite newer bands of the last 10 years. I can't think when they first came out. But it's the band Shame, and this is their live album called Live in the Flesh, which they did during quarantine. If I remember right, it was kind of recorded in a studio as a live album. And I think it's still available on YouTube, or they recorded it and put it out to the masses. I don't know. All I know is that I love Shame, and this came out on their I can think of the album that this is related to. Is the sideline here? Oh, of course not. Anyway, Shame are kind of similar to me. They're similar to Fontaine's DC with kind of a bent. They're a little bit more edgy, if you will. They haven't changed their tune too much in the last several albums, and they just released a new one called Cutthroat, which is actually quite good. But yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 songs. It's short and sweet. I think this was a Record Store Day issue, and if I remember correctly, it wasn't released in the United States, so I had to hunt it down abroad, which takes time and money. Nothing cheap.
Yeah,
You know
I'm
that.
sure we'll cover the tariffs later.
Yeah, for sure. So, does this come out on any special color? Oh, yes, it did. It's split yellow,
Nice.
black, yellow, which is kind of cool.
That is cool.
But no big inners. I think I have a download code that I probably haven't used, which is cool with me. But anyway, yep, pick number 1, Shame live in the flesh. I think it's still on YouTube. Last time I checked, I remember when I got that, I watched it on YouTube, so it might still be around.
So for Record Store Day, what you would that to come out of to correspond with the album is off?
I'm trying to think. When's this come out? This came out in 2021. So it might have been
2021.
2021 RSD, April. I don't know.
So that'd be close. Was it off the album Songs of Praise?
Songs of Praise. Yes. No, that's their first one. It would be the pink one. It's called Pink something. Drunk.
Or Drunk Tank Pink?
That one. And
This one?
yes, which is actually one of my favorites by them. Their progression of music has just been kind of like fairly mainstream, edgier, and this new one has an awful lot of cussing in it, but it's pretty good. So
Cool, mate. Very cool. Good choice.
it wasn't a choice; it was random.
Well, yeah, I know, yeah. Good random choice. Right, we'll head over to the capital of the world in Cardiff with Jeff.
Now, I decided to pick 10 records or bands that are my favorite. I thought that was the route I would go down. And the first one is my absolute favorite band. And this is from a period where they did 3 albums where songs were either 10 minutes long or 20 minutes long. The 10 minutes one were the short songs. So it's Yes and Relayer, which is from 1974. Patrick Moraz, later of the Moody Blues, replaced Rick Wakeman on this album, brought a kind of very jazzy European feel to it. It's a terrific album. Roger Dean's cover, striking artwork by Roger Dean. I've interviewed him a few times. Wonderful chap. And yeah, Rick Wakeman, who left the band before this album, that was my first kind of brush with famous musicians. I interviewed him for my college newspaper. I ran a college newspaper, and I interviewed him. He was playing Barry Town Memorial Hall just outside Cardiff. I think it was on the Gospels tour. And I did an interview with him, and I was like, meeting one of my heroes for the first time. So I was a bit nervous and shaky. And it's funny how back in those days, in the 90s or 80s even, I guess, 80s when I was at college, no such thing as a selfie. So for the college paper, I took a picture of him sitting in a chair backstage. Didn't think to say, hey, can I join you and do a little selfie? That just wasn't a thing, was it? And I remember years later interviewing John Anderson, the singer of Yes. And it was a very funny story. He told me for this album, for Relay, before they appointed Patrick Moraz on keyboards, he'd started working with Vangelis. They hadn't actually recorded anything yet together. That was another 5 years away. But he brought Vangelis to meet Yes, to audition to be the Yes keyboard player. But he said the rest of the band were quite put off by Vangelis because he was quite very confident and forceful. But they said when he came to the studios, he'd be like, drums. And he'd go to the drum set and do an amazing drum solo. Guitar. And he'd pick up the guitar and do an amazing guitar solo. Bass guitar. And he was just like amazing at everything. And they just found him a bit overwhelming, I think. So they decided he might not fit into the band dynamic because, Vangelis in Yes would have been amazing. Great album, though.
Cool. Yeah, cool. Very cool. Let me just go through the comments real quick here. So Adrian is saying, I'm going to have to listen to Shame now, Richard. You're influencing people already, and we've only been on 10 minutes.
My goal.
So the band get to say it's a
aspiration,
shame if you don't listen to them.
Well done, Jeff.
I can't even think how I got into them. And knowing full well how over the years I just kind of pick up bands you hear a sound snippet or see a video or hear something. Definitely wasn't radio, so it had to have been internet something. And I heard some song, and I just went, "Wow, who's that? Shame? Who are they? Oh, they have an album coming out in 3 weeks. I'll see if I can." Yeah, one thing leads to another, and you know how it is. You end up going down every rabbit hole imaginable.
Yeah, you pretty much do. So I will go next. I'm going to go with a British band. A lot of my collection is, as we know, either Canadian or American. I have got British in there though. Yeah, let's get this band was big in the early 2000s. And they aspired a song by Lily Allen for the John Lewis advert, if you remember back in the day, Jeff.
Yeah, big Lily Allen fan.
Yeah, and the band is Keane.
Oh, I love Keane. I've seen them.
I'd love to see Keane live. I missed the opportunity. I think there was another gig I was going to. I can't remember what it was, but it was clashing. So, yeah, Keane, brilliant band. Show you the inside. A little story on how Keane got back together. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, Jeff, but they were busking in a town somewhere in England, I believe, and nobody recognised who they were because they've all turned grey. So they've gone from the youngsters with the hair wax coming down onto their faces to these guys now in their 40s and 50s that are completely grey. And somebody stopped and started recording them, and it was Keane. It was the lead singer singing, and the drummer was beside the guitarist, and that's how they kind of got another deal and got back together. So this won't surprise anybody. This is a greatest hits. I did think about getting the albums, but this was a good deal on Amazon. I think this was like £15 on a Amazon drop. So I thought I'd go ahead and pick this one up. Now, the big ones on here is Everybody's Changing, which in the UK was everywhere. You couldn't not escape it. Somewhere Only We Know, Bend and Break, Bed-Shaped, Atlantic, Is It Any Wonder, and so many good ones as well. There's so many tracks on here. This is a double LP. It's just on black vinyl. But yeah, what a band. And it's quite good, actually, because if you look at the cover, they show where they've been in the world touring. You can see the little dots.
Everywhere. I see that little dot in Denver. That was there.
There you go.
Oh, and I think that's my living room there as well.
Yeah. Jeff, it would not surprise me, mate. Yeah, cool. Okay, so that's Keane. Really good band to get into. If nobody's never heard of them, give them a stream, give them a listen. They're really, really cool. You can
definitely check out their first album, Hopes and Fears. Their absolute best. Their first couple of albums were pretty consistent, and I saw them on that Hopes and Fears tour. So good.
Cool. Right, we'll go back to Richard now. And what's up for the second one, mate?
All right, let me get this out of the wrap so we don't glare everywhere. Okay, this is a band from New Zealand. We're going around the world in this. 1980s, kind of power pop with a psychedelic edge. And it's the Chills. And I played this morning because I pulled these last night and I went, I haven't heard this in years. So I just put it on this morning and was surprised how much I really enjoyed this. So what? No, there we go. Even better. Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about the Chills other than this comp, which it pretty much is kind of like a singles and EPs compilation. So it's a best of, if you will, or just literally a compilation of singles. It's interesting listening to the progression of songs over the course of this album. They just get edgier and slightly more psych over just being pure power pop. Really interesting band. I can't remember if this is on any color vinyl. It is. Are you ready?
Go. Oh, sweet.
Bubblegum Pink. Why? Who knows? I can't remember if the second one was on Bubblegum. Yeah, they both are. So they're both Bubblegum Pink. Don't you love it when they make a pressing in color and there's no real rhyme or reason? It's just the color choice. It's like, what does that have to do with? There's no pink on here. Anyway, I'm going to assume that Ben Rankins would approve of this choice if he sees our live stream. So yes, New Zealand Aussie bands. I remember picking that up, kind of another one, kind of on a whim, where it's like the Chills. I don't know, it might have been like a good deal on Amazon or something. And I just picked it up and played it, liked it, and kind of got buried in the avalanche of other records I keep picking up, as they do.
Cool, mate. Never heard of them. Jeff, have you viewed them before?
No, never heard of them either, no. They were probably in Lord of the Rings, though, if they're from New Zealand, so...
They were hobbits. Backup hobbits.
Brilliant. Good choice, mate. Right, okay, we'll head back to Jeff. What have you got?
So drum roll for album number 2, a band who, despite their huge success, I think they're massively underrated. Their singer has an amazing voice. I think he's hugely underrated as a singer and a songwriter. And the album I'm about to show you, I saw them live on tour, 1981 at Wembley Arena, when I was about 15 years old. It's the Electric Light Orchestra on the album Time, where they actually dropped their string section for this album, became a bit more electronic. The album starts as well with a great song called Twilight, and before it there's a very digitized voice introducing the song. And when they did it live at Wembley, they had a little robot that looked exactly like R2-D2 come out on the stage, shot lasers into the arena, and did that spoken bit. And about 10 years later, I was working as a newsreader on a radio station in Birmingham here in the UK called BRMB, and Bev Bevan, the drummer from ELO, was a guest in the studio. Noddy Holder used to present from Slade, used to present one of the shows, and Bev Bevan was on his show. And I went in there, I did a bit of an interview, had a chat, and I said to him, I saw that robot live, that was amazing, And he said to me, I think Jeff Lynne still has that in his home. He's programmed it to play snooker. And then a few years later, they had a Jeff Lynne documentary on the TV, and they were in his house, his recording studio, and sure enough, there's the little robot by the pool table. So they had kept it after the tour and programmed it to play pool. But I must admit, one of my favorite ELO stories, which someone from the band told me years ago. Their second album, when it came out, obviously the first one was the Electric Light Orchestra. The second one, when it came out in the UK on Harvest Records, was called ELO 2. In America, the day it was being pressed on vinyl, the manager of Harvest in the US still hadn't heard what the new ELO album was going to be called. So he said to his secretary, I'm popping out for lunch, give London a ring and get the name of the ELO album and we'll tell them downstairs. So she then rings London and they can't get through. So she leaves a post-it note on his desk saying no answer. And then she goes out for lunch. He comes back for lunch, thinks No Answer is the title of the album, rings the plant, it's called No Answer. And it went out in the US instead of ELO 2 as No Answer. And a while back, I bought a little collection of CDs, ELO, and it must have been the American version, because sure enough, still on there, ELO, No Answer. So how bizarre is that? They helped this really weird title in America because the receptionist couldn't get through to the record company. I think it's a great story. I love that.
Rich, I told you you'd have good stories, didn't I? I did say.
You were correct.
On that album, my favorite one is Hold On Tight.
Ah, yes, great track. Hold On Tight. Great single. Sung in French as well for a bit, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did know. Yeah, I did notice. Yeah, I remember ELO coming to my mind in lockdown, believe it or not, and the song "Hold On Tight" came up, and I listened to the album. I really enjoyed it. I still forget to pick that album up, to be honest. I've seen it once or twice, but it's a good album.
Great album. I remember at the time when I bought it, and it was a fantastic album. Everything ELO did, after the mid-70s, kind of went to number 1 in the UK. This album didn't. It made number 2, and it stayed at number 2 for 3 weeks. And I remember listening to the charts. And do you know what the album was that kept ELO Time off number 1? It was the Prince Charles and Princess Diana wedding album. It was the music from the royal wedding kept ELO off that #1 spot.
And I
They didn't
recall
show
that
they
their
didn't show
time
that on
album.
Yeah, they didn't show that on Top of the Pops, Jeff.
They didn't. But I recall that album not doing all that great in the States. I think, there were a couple of songs that were big on the radio. I think it was more of a singles album than the album itself didn't do too well. But didn't that come out after Discovery, or was that later?
It was after Discovery they did the Xanadu soundtrack and then Time. Yeah.
Okay, so I was really into ELO on the Discovery album. It's one of my favorites.
That's great.
Theirs. Then, I do remember Xanadu coming out, and I kind of went, and I don't even think I even touched Time. I don't own it. I own several ELO albums. But that's one I don't have.
We just got the comments real quick. Jeff, you might know this person. This is Liz.
I might have heard of her a couple of times.
Hello. There you go.
And she said, and Richard, of course.
She likes me.
So, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. She does, doesn't she? She does. She goes, how's Richard doing? And when I said, Jeff's coming on, she was like, I might tune in for this one then. Because in the evening, she's kind of putting the kids to bed this time. So this is a perfect opportunity for me to do a live stream. So, cool. All right. My turn. If it works, it should work.
Come on, live stream. Come on.
2 secs.
There we go.
There you go.
Woohoo!
Cool. Right. So my next band is another greatest hits. I found this in a charity shop for £1.50. And it's
Bargain.
Cars.
That's a good greatest hits.
That's what I thought. And I thought, you know what? Let's pick this one up. So yeah, and it you swear it's brand new. The pressing on it, everything, it's pretty cool. I'll just take it out to the sleeve. It's got the original sleeve on it as well. And then you got the band then as well on this. So yeah, pretty cool. Peter Kay has destroyed this band for me. I don't know if you've seen the sketch on this, you two, but he was in London doing a live gig, and you know the song Drive? It's called Misheard Lyrics, and talking about how they want to put together a SETI.
Oh, yeah.
And every time I hear this, it comes on, I think, why did I have to listen to Peter Kay? But yeah, really cool album, start to finish. So many good tracks on here. Just what I needed. Since You're Gone, You May Think, Good Times Roll. Obviously, the massive one was Drive. Tonight She Comes, My Best Friend's Girl, Heartbeat City, Let Go, and Magic. So there you go. I've shown the Cars.
See, if I'm not wrong, were the Cars, I know the Cars were huge the minute they hit the US market, and their first album went Sonic. And that's the greatest hits album to me in their own right. But am I wrong in saying that the Cars kind of hit Britain later, or no?
I don't think they were ever very big over here. I mean, even in the 70s and 80s, they, a bit like the New York Dolls as well. That kind of type of band didn't really make much of an impact over here, I don't think. Few hit singles, but not,
Isn't it weird? You think, I don't know. It just seems like anything that gets big in the States becomes at least well-known elsewhere, but that's might be the exception.
Well, it's a bit like, I'll come to them later, but bands like REO Speedwagon, Styx, Journey, they weren't very big in the UK. Styx had one hit single, Babe, that was it. Journey were totally ignored here until Glee Club did a version of their song in the noughties, and suddenly Journey took off, but they were totally ignored in the 80s and 90s. REO Speedwagon had a hit or two with Take It to the Limit, but it's funny how those bands were massive in America, but again, just didn't kind of come over here.
It isn't. That is interesting. And then now knowing my fandom for a lot of obscure bands from the UK and whatnot, groups like Feeder and Biffy Clyro and all of them are huge in the United Kingdom, not in the United States almost at all. They're not even known, barely. So it's sad.
2 secs.
Get off Instagram. Shame on you.
Sorry, it's just Sam was texting me.
Yeah, pay attention, Chris. Pay attention. Come on.
Okay, this is for you, Jeff, of Liz. Jeff, I meant to comment on your Facebook the other day. I have played with Rob Reed with the other project, Magenta, a couple of times up in the Acapello studios. Very nice.
Yeah, Rob Reed. I've seen Magenta, not for about 10 years or so, but I've seen Magenta quite a few times. I think they're doing something live soon, actually. But Magenta are great. Yeah, and what an experience if you play with Rob. Rob is an incredibly talented keyboard player and arranger and composer. He's a very talented chap. Yeah. But his new project with Steve Balsamo from the Stories, Chimpanzee, is terrific. They've got 3 or 4 different female vocalists and Steve on vocals. They've got spoken word from this guy Tony Dallas. It's very adventurous but very compelling. So Chimpanzee, worth a listen to if you can.
Cool. Morten, how you doing, mate? Right. Okay, this is Morten from Norway, Jeff, that I was talking about earlier on. He's into his Welsh stuff. Morten, if you want to jump on, I've sent you the link, mate. It's up to you. Right, okay. Let's have a look here. I will go... It's not my go. It's Richard's go. So...
Yeah, there we are.
I know.
See, my ugly face pops up. It's like, ah, it's scary. Okay. I scared myself. This band, I used to live in Washington, D.C., just FYI. So not terribly long time. It's about 6 years in the late 90s to early 2000s. Then I moved back here. Fell in love with this band. It was kind of the height of the grunge, nu metal era of, hard, crunchy guitars and mosh pits and all of that good stuff. And the band is Godsmack. And I still, to this day, absolutely love this album. This is sort of their best. Their first 3 albums to me are just stunning. But, Sully Erna and company, and for all the, Wiccan, witchy type, if you will. The lyrics are rather interesting. But yeah, Mosh Pit Mania. I saw them at a smallish club in DC on this album, and it was just mayhem because they had just sort of exploded. And we're starting to do the festival circuit, and here they are playing in this teeny weeny club. Seen them several times since then. I saw them at Red Rocks. I've seen them with Deftones. They opened for Deftones, and that was in Virginia Beach. So I've seen Godsmack in the round opening for Metallica too. So I've been around. I've seen them a lot. But yeah, I would say their first 4 albums to me are essential Godsmack, and then after there it kind of goes, yeah, but they're still recording. I think they finally gave up the ghost this year. I think it was their last album. But yeah, Godsmack. What were the huge ones on here? Moon Baby was big. Keep Away is still one of my favorites. Time Bomb. Get Up, Get Out. That's fun live. Now or Never. Yeah, just fun rock craziness. And this was very much my wheelhouse in that era. I was going to clubs, and so dance music was big, but I was really into more guitar-oriented heavy music, and that was right up my street. So
they had quite a big promotion from Kerrang TV in the UK, and they were always on Kerrang TV, the music videos. And for some reason, I thought the lead singer was German. I don't know what it was. I just did a German Rammstein look about him, and I just thought.
Not
Yeah,
quite.
so,
Speaking of Rammstein, I saw Rammstein in the same venue that I saw Godsmack. Teeny weeny thing, yet they had all the pyro and stuff. Yeah, it was nuts.
yeah, cool. Right, let's go through the comments real quick. Morton saying, listening to the Stereophonics, I'm sure you were happy to read. Well done, mate. You made my day again. And then Morton saying, funny, I used to think Godsmack album 12-inch from Garbage or something.
Morton, you were wrong.
It looks the cover. I think he's talking about the cover. It looks like the girl from Garbage.
It sort of does. I saw Garbage open for Blondie of all things. So yeah.
Oh
good
wow!
show.
I bet that was a good show. Cool, mate. Very cool. Right. Okay. Let's go and. Oh wow! First time. Well done, Jeff.
Hey. So, number 3,
Over to you.
this is another band that I spent my school days and college days listening to endlessly. Just such a great band. Was very lucky to catch them live late in the day. Led Zeppelin. So Physical Graffiti. And even though it's a CD, it still has a little window jazzy cover thing. But I mean, Physical Graffiti, what an album. I mean, all their albums were flawless up to a point. And I was very lucky to see them live at their when they did the Ahmet Ertegun from Atlantic Records tribute show, and which was basically, Emerson, Lake and Palmer and Yes playing a few songs with Bill Wyman, some bands off the labels, but Zeppelin did a big 2-hour set, and they were amazing. And I'm sure I'm sure Chris is sick to death of me saying. 2 great stories. I was very privileged to spend the day with Robert Plant when I did the Rockfield book, because obviously he recorded his first few solo albums at Rockfield in South Wales. And when I got to meet him, it was funny. Phil Collins had been drumming on his solo albums. And again, if you told a 14-year-old me this story, I was chatting to Phil Collins about this. He was in America writing the musical Tarzan, and I was trying to interview him for the book. So we did get that interview, and he said to me, I told him I was meeting Robert Plant and his first solo band at Rockfield Studios on May the 13th. And he said, oh, cool. Do you mind reading out a message to him? So I said, yeah, sure. So when I got there, I read this message out to Robert Plant from Phil Collins, which, I still can't. What an incredible thing to do, to be reading a message to Robert from Phil. And it said, I love playing with you guys. The most fun of my career. It was wonderful. I can't play that fast today. Wish I was there. And then Robert Plant just looked at me and said, of course he had fun with us. He's in Genesis, isn't he? Everyone cracked up. But then one of my favorite stories from that interview with Robert, one of the guys who was there with him was a guy called Jez Woodruff, who was the keyboard player. And he just had this amazing story. He basically worked in his dad's keyboard shop in Birmingham, and he played in a covers band. And one day, Ozzy Osbourne came into the shop and said, we've seen you about. Do you want to join Sabbath? We need a keyboard player for our next few albums. Come and join Sabbath. So he thought about it for about 0.1 seconds and joined. They flew him out for his first ever recording experience to the Criteria Studios in Florida, legendary studios. And he said to me, Jeff, you'll never guess what he said. Black Sabbath, we were in Studio B in the middle. In Studio A, to the left of us, were the Eagles recording Hotel California. And in Studio C was Fleetwood Mac recording Rumours. And he said, there I was, a 19-year-old kid, and I'd have Don Henley saying to me, they want us to cut down the guitar solo on our title track, Hotel California. They think it's too long. What do you think? Would press play. And then Mick Fleetwood would come into the bar with a little cassette player. Oh, the record company want to use this song. You can go your own way as a single. What do you think, Jez? Play. And he was just saying, what a fantastic introduction to music, to have Fleetwood Mac and the Eagles making 2 of their best albums next to you while you're recording with Sabbath. Just incredible. So, yeah, fantastic chap. And that was a great day in the studio with Mr. Plant and his band. Yeah.
That is insane. Wow.
I did, Rich. I did say to you, said you're not going to beat these stories.
Boy, am I glad I came here today. But to get stories like that firsthand from the person who experienced them, talking about people who I admire greatly, it's like, oh my gosh, yeah, a little gobsmack, so to speak.
Cool. Right, Morton said, that's all right, men, Chris. See, Rich, Chris gets me.
Fine.
I can't remember who it was now. Till Lindemann, Rammstein has solo album out now, doesn't he? I believe he does. I've seen it advertised somewhere. And Adrian saying that's awesome. Good story. Yeah. I learned all this in the pub, by the way. Just having a fight with Jeff, and he does it like bloody hell. So yeah, cool, very cool. I'm sure there's more stories to come, so bear with us on this. Whatever I'm going to show is going to be boring as shit compared to what Jeff just showed.
Well, my next one. Let's outboring each other. You first.
Language, Chris. Language. Terrible.
I know. Mate, let's be honest, that's nothing.
I know you've toned it down. I know.
Yeah. Okay. So, Stereophonics. Just come in. This is a live album. The album is called Live from Dakota. So this was a live session they did. Bought this off eBay. This was, I can't believe I'm saying this, but this was a record store day release that only got released in America, where nobody knows them.
Which is, I was going to say, how ironic is that? Wow.
So, yeah.
So is that's the only copy they sold then, Chris?
Yeah, and I had it from America, yeah. Still sealed, by the way. But I'll just show you the inside real quick. So this guy here is Argentinian. I believe this was kind of the last live album he did before he left the band and went back to Argentina. And that's where Jamie Morrissey. No, what's his name? Jamie something. He's with the band now. He's been there ever since. So there's Richard, who's also from Commandment. This came on a cool pressing as well. Everybody thinks this is going to be black, but what's the opposite to black?
Green.
White. So,
ooh, that label's pretty cool though.
I think Emma would like this label, wouldn't she?
Ooh, I like that one too.
So, yeah, I keep saying this every time, but this is a 12-inch record. And, well, you can see the size of my head. So I'll just go through some of the tracks. So obviously I've got the newest stuff on here. This got released back in 2006. So you got ones like Superman, Doorman, 1,000 Trees, Devil, Mr. Writer, Harrigan Waite, Madam Helga, Carrot and Wine, I'm All Right, Bartender the Thief, Local Boy in the Photograph, Jane, which he introduces a new song and never released it. He released it on his solo first album.
So 1,000 Trees is such a great. I remember seeing the Stereophonics for the first time. They were supporting James at Wembley Arena, and of course, as with most things, all the James fans were in the concourse buying their beers and soft drinks and hot dogs, and Stereophonics came onto a smattering of people. But they opened with 1,000 Trees, and the moment that started up, everyone came pouring back into it. Who's this band? Who's this song? And they just blew everyone away, as they always did live, particularly in those days,
Obviously, the big one on here was Dakota, which is still their only #1 single in the UK, which is quite surprising.
Is that right? I didn't know that. Yeah, that surprises me actually. I thought they'd have had a lot more. Yeah,
every album they've had have gone to #1 in the UK.
Yeah,
but single wise,
I thought they'd have a few more #1 singles. Yeah, definitely.
Bartender
and the Thief was a great song and a great video too.
Yeah, Dakota was the only one. You had a few on you that, like Local Boy in the Photograph, Bartender Thief. They hit the #3, #2 slots. They never actually got. And I remember Kelly saying, he said our mistake was we were releasing the single that week up against Oasis or Travis or kind of them kind of bands. He said,
or Prince Charles and Princess Diana.
Yeah, well, there's that as well, yeah.
Who knows? So, Chris, what album were they touring on for that live album? Do you know?
That would have been Sex, Language, Violence, and Other.
Okay.
So that's got the one with Dakota on it.
I'll have to look
But,
around for that album. I might find it.
Well, I've just ordered the limited edition purple vinyl, so I'll have 2 copies of it. So you may. Right. You know what I'm like. I'm insane when it comes to the phonics. Right. Okay. Let's have a look. Okay. So he went back to Argentina. Would be a good description of what it's like in Morton, mate. I am, of course, kidding, boyo. I was going to tell Richard I put on Broncos fleece jacket, but that made me think of a Welsh saying, "Whose coat is that jacket?" So
Yeah.
I best
Max Boyce. Who's good?
Yeah. So okay. Let's go round then. Let's head off to Richard in the vinyl tap.
Well, you may not want to when you see what I've had to pull. So,
Okay.
Mr. Randomizer decided to pull possibly the worst album by this very big band.
Is it the
And,
Teletubbies?
Huh?
Is it the
What?
Teletubbies?
No. No. I don't have that. Thank goodness. But my favorite album by this band was like 2 records to the left of it. Unfortunately, I got stuck with Genesis Invincible Touch. Quite possibly the peak low of all time for them. Invisible Touch, Tonight. Land of Confusion's good, particularly the video. The video is excellent. And I do have the 12-inch. Go figure. Anything she does, Domino, Throwing It All Away. I do like that song, but this is not prog.
And a terrible album cover.
Terrible album cover. I'm like, what does this mean? I don't get it. Invisible Touch. I get the touch with the hand, but I don't get it. It doesn't work on so many levels. Should we see if it's on colored vinyl?
Shall we?
Oh, first let's see a very young looking Phil Collins and company. And his very what is those Australian sweaters that cost stupid money. Yeah. Good luck reading those lyrics. Some of that background on that. It's like, holy, you'll have an epileptic fit or something. And the vinyl is, of course, black. Oh, we got labelage. Cool. I didn't even know that. We got label. Yeah. So, why do I own this? I really like Duke. Duke is one of my favorite Genesis albums, full stop. It's proggy enough to be interesting, but it's not as, it's not as poppy as what they would become, especially with this and going forward for that matter. But, no, it's not a terrible album, but it's certainly one of 2 Genesis albums. I'm just like, why am I keeping this? That would be one, and then the Genesis self-titled with the whatever is on that orange and black cover. Yeah, that one.
Abacab is one of my faves.
Abacab is good too. I
like that. Yeah.
I've only got Genesis greatest hits. So,
Chris, that does not surprise me at all.
Right.
I have nothing prior to Duke. So early Genesis is kind of lost on me, the whole Peter Gabriel era. I know it's there. I just really haven't dabbled into it enough to, explore.
Okay. 80s vinyl, 70 grams.
Yeah, it is pretty floppy.
Yeah.
It's like,
why did that sound more like a Coke deal than? I don't know.
Cool. Right. Okay. Jeff, over to you, mate.
Well, a band I've seen loads of times live, and they were always just amazing, always blew you away. And again, I was very lucky enough to interview the lead singer for the Rockfield book, but the back of the album will give this one away. So it's Motorhead, Ace of Spades.
Okay.
And I believe this isn't a beach in Florida. I believe this is a quarry in Essex somewhere that they took the album cover on. But terrific album, terrific song. I mean, and a great band. Very more bluesy and heavy than people imagine. But they're a wonderful band. Yeah, and as I say, they did a lot of. Lemmy was at Rockfield with Hawkwind and Motorhead, and it was very funny. I remember. When I first met him, he was backstage playing a one-arm bandit, and I remember saying to him, "Oh, are you winning?" He said, "Well, no, it's my own money." Stupid. But I remember, just a really good band live, and he would always turn the sound up halfway through the show, like turning it up to 11 on Spinal Tap, and they'd always introduce themselves. They'd come on stage, and Lemmy would just say, "We're Motorhead, and we play rock and roll," and then they just off they went. Just a superb band, absolutely superb band,
Jeff, can you just quickly tell the story of Lemmy having shots?
Oh, well, yes.
This is brilliant. Brilliant. I love this story.
So I was backstage. He's playing the one-arm bandit, and a lot of Kinder eggs on his rider. Obviously, a lot of alcohol, but Kinder eggs were his big thing. You get about 15 Kinder eggs on a plate. But when we did the interview, I was there, and I said to him, I discussed this with him already, and I was going to be interviewing him about Hawkwind's time at Rockfield and Motorhead's time. So I had a load of questions. And Lemmy said, he said, "I'm happy to do this interview, but let's make it interesting," he said. "We're going to have a shot of Jack Daniels after every question." I was like, okay. Fine.
Oh, God.
But 30 questions later, my next question was, is your twin brother in the room? Why are there two of you? It was a bit of a strange interview. And then I had to come back in the evening to watch the gig. But so he insisted we did a shot of JD after every question. And that did make things interesting, definitely.
I love that story. Wow. I just got to pick picture Jeff trying to be very professional and just taking shots of Jack Daniels, just looking at his notes going.
Oh dear.
It's cool, mate. Do you want to show the book, Jeff, that we're talking about, the Rockfield book?
There we go. Rock Legends at Rockfield. So, Oasis did a lot of stuff there. Queen recorded. I mean, Bohemian Rhapsody was recorded there. And, allegedly the studio itself provided inspiration for Bohemian Rhapsody because allegedly Freddie Mercury's in one of the rooms. It's a converted farm, converted into a studio. And Freddie Mercury was trying to finish Bohemian Rhapsody, trying to get that last line, and couldn't think how to end the song. And he looked out into the courtyard of this farm, and they had a weather vane, and it was spinning round. And he just suddenly thought, hey, any way the wind blows. And so the studio directly, a bit like the other one as well was Coldplay, Yellow. They were recording their first album at Rockfield, and they were out again in the courtyard of this farm, looking at the night sky. And where they're from, Essex and London, there's a lot of light pollution. So when you look up at the sky, you don't see stars and black, you see orange. So they were amazed by the fact they could see these bright stars, And the bass player said, "Good grief, look at the stars, see how they shine." And Chris Martin was like, "Oh, I'll have that. That'll be the opening to a song." So another direct, inspiration.
It's cool. I obviously got the book myself. That
was the one copy that sold. So, thank you.
Yeah, well, I bought this book a few times, and because me and Jeff used to work together, so I go into work and go, "Jeff, can you just sign this a minute?" Like this was going on as a Christmas present at one point. I think everybody in the family, even Alid, Liz's kid, she's like, "Is that Jeff?" I was like, "Yeah, it's off Jeff." He said he signed it to you. Oh my goodness! And he keeps this on underneath his TV where his bookshelf is, and this is always on top of the bookshelf. So he has a look. Fantastic. He likes looking at pictures, and he's into the Queen and that kind of stuff. So it is a really, really interesting book. to take a look. There's some really good photos in here, and the way Jeff writes it is pretty amazing, and highly recommend it.
Someone said it sounds like a radio documentary when they read it, but some of the pictures are amazing. I mean, Judas Priest Management gave me some good pictures. You saw one there from Paul Carrick, who sent me a picture of Ace playing football. The photographer who followed Oasis around sent me a few of the shots he did. So we had some really, really nice pictures to go with the book, which was lucky.
I will put a description to the US and the British store on Amazon, so you can go ahead and check it out. I have promised Jeff that I'm going to buy a few books for my friends from the vinyl community, like Richard and that. So you may need to get your pen back out. So yeah, cool, mate. Cool. I love that story. That's one of my favorites. That is. The picture of you sitting down with Lemmy, just kind of like. It's in the book as well. There's a picture of you sitting with Lemmy. So,
yeah,
it's cool. Very cool. Right. Okay. Back to me then. Before we go further, let's just have a quick look at the chat. I still have not heard early Gabriel Genesis or Uriah Heep for that matter. Not that I don't want to, but I have to get all the other records first. Dim probs, right?
It's probably right.
So I love early Genesis. Peter Gabriel Genesis is just the best, and they are incredible and different, and very good.
Hey, what I have heard, I've been fascinated by, but then it was another time, another place. I'm just kind of like. Maybe now now that I have more time, I can go back and look at some of that stuff. I'm to the point with record collecting where it's like I don't need another rabbit hole.
Cool, mate. Right, I will go next, and it is a Rhino high fidelity release again. Richard's going to go. Oh, did you really need to get this? But I never had this album, so I thought, right, here's a good opportunity to pick it up. And it's Nevermind the Bollocks by the Sex Pistols. This got released. Yeah, it got released about 2 months ago. Richard's laughing because he knows how much I spent on this. But this is another. I've listened to it, and it's good. You know what you're getting with them because obviously I've heard the album before.
Yes, but to describe it as good, that's kind of like, oh yeah, it's good. It's better than good. It's freaking Sex Pistols, man.
I think Johnny Rotten was. I can't remember the band he's in at the moment. What's
Public Image Limited?
Yeah, so they were in the Tram Shed in Cardiff a few weeks ago, I believe. Doing a tour.
And Frank Carter's been going around doing vocals for the Sex Pistols, hasn't he?
Ooh, yes. Frank Carter what band was he in before?
Well, the Rattlesnakes and
one before that. Oh, Gallows.
Oh, Gallows. Gallows is a great band.
So here's the front, here's the back. To show you the inside real quick. So
cool.
What I do like about Rhino releases, the cardboard is so thick. Like I've never known a record to be so thick. This is another number at 5,000. I got 3,619.
I had that on vinyl as a teenager, and I've got it on CD now. But it's funny how back when I was 11, 12, and that album came out, people were terrified of the band, and the music they couldn't play it on the radio, and people thought the songs on it were noise and horrendous and just the most disgusting thing you've ever heard. Now they're just really catchy ditties compared to Cattle Decapitation or Cannibal Corpse or some of the shouty metal. Exactly. It's nothing compared to that. But it's if you played it, someone playing it now, maybe a teenager, and you say, "Oh, this was a shocking band," they'd play it and say, "But it's really catchy. It's really amazing." It's hard to remember the amount of terror it created. People were terrified of this band. All the concerts were cancelled. You couldn't play it on the radio. It really had a major impact, like in that way.
But then you. you exacerbate it even worse when they came to the United States and they stupidly booked them throughout the South of the United States, which is redneck cowboy country, and put them in a cowboy bar. They're playing Anarchy in the UK, and these people want a hoedown and violins and crap, and they didn't get it, so they were pissed. And I'm like, whose brilliant idea was that?
I bet the two man
because they signed that. Was it one of the first? They signed like that £1 million or multi-million-pound deal with Sony Records. They did it in front of Parliament, and it was a huge record deal. Or was it EMI? And they did a huge record deal, and then they dropped them 6 days later because of the outrage and the scandal. They cancelled it 6 days later. Incredible,
Yeah, they're almost tame by comparison to some bands that are out there nowadays, and it's like they made such a ruckus. It was
Well, again, the other thing they did here, and Susie Sue was one of their groupies behind them. They were on TV, and of course, the first time the F word was used on TV when they were provoked by a semi-drunk presenter, and he kept saying, "You naughty lads, aren't you? Go on, I dare you to swear." And they swore. First time the F word was used on mainstream TV in the UK, and that just added to that aura they had of terrifying people.
Yeah, because Johnny Rotten to look at, he's not the PC kind of image, is he? He's kind of, because he was the one who noticed in the first place about Jimmy Savile, because he'd done that interview with Piers Morgan, and he went, "I knew that arsehole was the way he was back in the day." Everybody knew in the BBC. It's a good interview. If anybody hasn't watched it, go and watch on YouTube. Piers Morgan interviews Johnny Rotten, and it's So,
and Johnny Rotten and I love Public Image Limited. It's one of my favorite bands that ever came out of the UK, and I've been into them since their album first came out. I have 2 or 3 biographies of Johnny Rotten and/or Sex Pistols and/or that era that feature him, and that picture there is when I saw Public Image Limited here, and that one there. So, I have a massive affection for the man, even though he has a terrible reputation, and he has a terrible reputation in America for other reasons too. So,
yeah, he's not afraid of opening his mouth, should we say?
Candid.
Yes, we'll go with that.
Candid.
Right. Okay. Let's head over to Richard.
All right.
Okay.
Instead of listening to that, I should have been looking something up because I wanted to look up something about this band, but I didn't have time. But that's okay. I'm actually glad this one came up because it's one of my favorite albums by this band, because it's actually one person who's it's one of those people who or one person that are functioning as a band because they play everything or program everything or whatever. And it's kind of in the vein of shoegaze, dream pop ish. And the band is Wild Nothing. The album is Gemini, and this album is absolutely stunning. So good. So it's the best I could describe it. It's like synth dream pop. It's very ethereal. I can't even remember the name of the guy, the vocalist. Oh my God, this is so bad. And I have several albums out that are getting more progressively electronica, which is not my jam. But this is the one that dragged me in. Songs on here: "Living Dreams," "Summer Holiday," "Drifter," "Pessimist," "Oh Lilac," "Confirmation," "My Angel Lonely." Everything. This is one of those albums that I play from start to finish, all the way through every single time, because it's just a whole atmosphere. And I love those atmospheric type albums where you just want to listen to it. It's like listening to My Bloody Valentine's Loveless. You can't play one song. You play the whole thing. That's what you do with this. So, Wild Nothing. The album's called Gemini. Came out, oh my goodness, 2010. So it's been around for a while. And a couple of sub albums after this one that are as good or as the one before. I'm an old man with a bad memory. But yes, Wild Nothing. Yeah, fascinating. They're just fascinating what this guy's doing with programming and putting just oral structures together into an album is a beautiful thing.
Cool, mate. Very cool. I'll have to check that one out. Right.
Black vinyl.
So just before I go to Jeff, 2 secs. Adrian saying, interesting. So keep going up.
Thank you.
Right, okay. Jeff, over to you, mate.
Well, this next pick, it's weird again. Pre-internet, you know, things used to just happen. They'd be announced on the radio, and you say, "Where did that come from?" And I remember this band, you know, this must have been a year or 2 or 3 in the making, just suddenly appeared. I was listening to the Rock Show on Radio 1 in 1982, and they suddenly, Tommy Vance, great voice, great presenter, said, "There's a new band coming out. They're made up of members of Yes and Emerson, Lake and Palmer and Roxy Music, and they're going to have their debut album out soon." And it was Asia, with that great Roger Dean cover with the dragon, signed by keyboard player Jeff Downes from the Buggles, and so that's the Asia album. And of course, when it came out, they'd been booked across America. Because of their past history with the Yes and Emerson, Lake and Palmer and John Wetton in Roxy Music and King Crimson, they've been booked in all these arenas across America. But then the album spent 9 weeks at #1, with Heat of the Moment being a big hit single, and they suddenly had to be upgraded to stadiums across America. It was such a big selling album. And I know Jeff Downes quite well, the keyboard player. I interviewed him quite a lot. And I first came across him when we launched that radio station I worked on in Monmouth and Hereford by Rockfield. Jeff lives in Raglan and has a studio in Raglan Castle. And because he's a local member of the Monmouth community, I approached him and said, "Look, you know, will you support our radio station? We're applying for the license." And he sent a letter to Ofcom, you know, saying, you know, this is a great idea. And we sort of keep in touch regularly. He's on tour in America with Yes at the moment. But signed that for me. And Jeff Downes, of course, he was, of course, the first record played on MTV, because he wrote Video Killed the Radio Star with the Buggles, and that was, you know, his first. He was the first. His record was the first on MTV, and I remember loving this on VHS on video. Asia, playing at the Budokan, where John Wetton had left and Greg Lake of Emerson, Lake and Palmer temporarily filled in. But this was a first, because this was the first ever live concert shown on MTV, and they had a bit of a discussion. We want the biggest band in the world to play the first concert on MTV. And the 2 biggest touring bands were the Police, who were, you know, just taking in millions of dollars, and Asia. So they plumbed for Asia, I think primarily because they could call it Asia in Asia, because it was kind of Tokyo. And I think that's what swung the deal. And I remember I used to feel sorry for Jeff. I saw them at Wembley Arena in '82, and their stage set was a big A with a little balcony across the middle. And rather than have your keyboards around you, Jeff's keyboards were in a row across this A. So the poor guy spent the whole gig running from here over there. Oh, he must have been out of breath by the end of the concert. But a great band. That debut album, flawless. Every single song is 100% amazing, and just a terrific album. You know.
Cool.
And you know what's sad about them is that they developed over time. My opinion, they kind of developed a reputation of being kind of twee versus massive. And another band that's kind of in the same arena is Toto, Toto are musicians extraordinaire who have been dialed back to being a yacht rock band, pretty much, even though they're, you know, heavily prog influenced throughout. But their biggest singles were very pop. And it just kind of dialed back the reputation. It's like, oh, Asia, Toto. And unfortunately, they become kind of throwaway bands, which is sad.
So Adrian is saying, Jeff, that going to hear 2 bands that I've never heard of. Thanks. So what you find, Jeff, on these live streams is it costs me a lot of money. Not that the live stream's free, right? But what people recommend. And then what I tend to do is I go back and watch the live streams again, and I'm like, instead of me trying to concentrate the chat, who's next and everything that's going on, I tend to go back and watch it again, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'll have to check that one out. Or I'll have to check that one out. So, what is Morden put in now? Wasn't it 40-Year-Old Virgin where Andy is made fun of for having a framed Asia poster? I got a feeling you're right, and it's been a while since I've seen that film.
And also, one of my favorites, South Park. Cartman, the character in South Park, recites the lyrics from Heat of the Moment when he's appealing for some medical cause for one of the characters, and then the whole chamber starts getting up and clapping and reciting. It's very, very funny. A really funny scene. I like that.
For Record Store Day this year, the creators of South Park are releasing a live album. I'm not the biggest South Park fan. Back when I was in high school or secondary school, when I was about 14, 15, they were massive.
But one of my favorite episodes, Korn appear in South Park, and what they do is they draw them in a different style. They draw them in the style of Scooby-Doo because they're there to solve this mystery, and it's like the pirate ghosts, and then the Korn start having this argument. Are they pirate ghosts or ghost pirates? Well, what's the difference? Well, pirate ghosts are pirates who've decided to become ghosts, but ghost pirates are people who've died, and it's just. And at the very end, Korn have arrived in South Park to play this gig, and at the very end, when they've solved the mystery of the ghost pirates, they start playing, and of course, as soon as they slam into those heavy riffs, it just cuts to all the people in South Park looking shocked. But that's a very funny episode. But I just love the way they drew Korn in the style of Scooby-Doo, which was hysterical.
There are so many music references in South Park. It's unbelievable. They've lampooned Rush, and Rush actually used it as an opening sequence for their Moving Pictures reunion tour or whatever it was. And Rod Stewart, the whole Lollapalooza thing. Yeah, it was just. Yeah, I love South Park.
So Morton is saying, oh my, yeah. I'm drawing a South Park character as you said that. So, Morton's really good on doing pictures.
He's an artist.
Yeah. He's just sent me pictures on Instagram. He's actually he's doing it. I don't know if I'll just show it anyway. So there he is. That's
hilarious.
Well done, mate. Brilliant. Right. Okay. Let's go. I think it is my turn. Okay. So, 2 secs.
Come on, StreamYard.
Yeah.
Yay.
StreamYard has been very buggy the last couple of weeks. I don't know what is going on. So let's go to Canada. Favorite Canadian artist, apart. Well, yeah. So I didn't realize he was from Canada. My mum used to play him all the time in the kitchen on a Sunday morning, on cassette at the time. So we're going way back now. But it's for songwriters. I think he's one of the best, and it is Mr. Gordon Lightfoot. This is Gold, the greatest hits. But this is a brilliant album from start to finish. Brilliant songwriter. And funny enough, every time I think of Canada, every time I hear him, I think of Canada straight away now. So yeah, it's a really good album. And there's the inside and the back. So yeah, I think didn't Gordon die about 2 years ago? Did we lose him last year? I'm trying to think. Was it?
Can't remember.
Yeah. So yeah, you got so many good strong songs on here, but my favorite one on here is Canadian Railroad Trilogy, which is on side 1. So
master storyteller for sure.
Yeah, it's between him and Adam Baldwin at the moment for me from Canada. Jeff, if you've probably never heard of Adam Baldwin, he's more of a songwriter. There's one of the tracks that he's brought out. They've made it into a film. So it's go and check out Adam Baldwin. Yeah, it's really hard to get him in the UK, but I'm sure you'll find a way. Right. Okay. So look, can you tell who it is, or from the drawing? Any ideas, guys, from the drawing who it could be?
I don't think I saw it long enough. Show us again.
Okay, hang on. 2
Now that
seconds.
you're baking.
It's Cartman, isn't it?
Try and get the glare up.
There you go.
Yeah, that's the eyes. That's Cartman.
It looks Cartman-esque. It
Playing
could be Sting,
the guitar.
for sure, but the hat is different. I don't know. It's who is it though? I don't know.
Right. Okay.
All right, let's stay in Canada because we're there. And it happened to be my next pick anyway. And speaking of talking about South Park lampooning Rush, let's talk about Rush. I love Rush. I'm a Rush hound since around this era. Moving Pictures was the first album I bought, but although I knew records prior to that, I knew about 2112 and all those. But once I got hooked on the Rush bandwagon, it was for life. And I've seen every tour Rush did from Tests for Echo all the way through Clockwork Angels, and a couple of times at Red Rocks too, which is, half hour from my house, give or take. This is Exit Stage Left. This is the live album, touring, Moving Pictures. So it's like Moving Pictures, Permanent Waves, and earlier stuff is all on here. This is a really good overview of that era. We'll cover up his butt while we're there. So what I love about Rush with their live albums is how they kind of documented like every third album or fourth album with a live album. So you have a running record of their entire live touring, history, which is really cool. So this is, they had All the World's a Stage. This is another one. Different. I can't think what some of the others. There's the one for the 80s, one for the
Show of Hands.
Show of Hands. I love that one. There's different something. It's the triple CD, and I have that one too. It hasn't been released on vinyl yet, but even their later ones. And I saw them at Red Rocks on their R30 tour, third row center. It was like watching Rush in IMAX. It was unbelievable. So yeah, good album from Rush. I don't think I have every Rush live album because some of them are trickier to get nowadays, but this one I've had for a very good long time. 81 maybe? Oh wow, I was right, 81. So yeah, Moving Pictures had just went stratospheric, and from there they went more keyboards, much to many's disappointment. But I have no trouble with like Hold Your Fire and Distant Early Warning and all those albums. I love them. So
I've seen part of Rush live. It was at the Taylor Hawkins tribute show, and they came out and they were on for like half an hour. And yeah, I was actually, it was quite funny. So Jeff knows Frank from 33 RPM because I sent him the book that you signed for me. And you're like, who's this Frank guy? I'm like, right, I'll send you the link. Just go check him out. He's probably got the biggest YouTube vinyl channel there is. And he showed it on his channel. He's actually listened to it. He's read it and he loves it. So yeah. And I was at the Taylor Hawkins tribute song, and I was sending Frank videos. He was like, "You son of a bitch! How the hell are Rush the Taylor Hawkins tribute?" But there was so many good guests. They were amazing. And if I'm being perfectly honest, I'd heard of Rush, but I was kind of like, Liz was like, "It's Rush." I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "They don't tour. This is Rush. Take it in."
For a moment, I thought you were going to say Taylor Swift, but
no, mate, that's a swear word on you. But I will say the highlight for me for that show was Brian Johnson come on and done Back in Black. Queen were there. Brian May, and it was actually quite good because Justin Hawkins was singing the lead, and he was amazing singing Queen songs. Like, and you think about it, then he's probably got that high pitched voice that can reach them kind of notes. But Brian Johnson was amazing. I tell you, so it's kind of weird because Brian Johnson came out to do Back in Black. Dave Grohl was on the guitar, and Lars from Metallica was playing the drums. That's just
Super great.
What is going on here? And then Rush came on, and then after Rush, Paul McCartney came out. So I was like, and I think those tickets cost me, I think they were about £120 each, and it's probably the best concert I've ever been to. So you had Liam Gallagher was there doing Oasis songs.
Oh, well.
You had Queens of Stone Age. You had obviously the Foo Fighters. You had Rush. You had Paul McCartney. You had Queen. And there's like a smattering of others, but it was Rush were good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wish I'd done a deep dive. Obviously, you don't know who's going to be there because it was kind of, there was a list of kind of who's going to be there. But Rush came out and I was like, bloody, and then Brian Johnson came out. I was like, this is a good ticket. So yeah, cool. Okay, let's have a look. Okay, let's go back. So Morton was saying it's Damon Goff.
Oh,
from that draw. Badly drawn boy.
Yeah,
right. Okay, Adrian. Lucky, I wish I was saw Russian concert. They were pretty good, I gotta be honest. Yeah.
I want to talk about master musicianship in action, how they pulled off some of their live shows. I mean, they're playing stuff with their feet, keyboards, guitars, drums. It was just nuts.
She's saying, "Oh my goodness, Chris, I would have been in hog heaven." Yeah, I'm getting to the stage now. I don't know if you're the same, Jeff and Rich, but I'm getting to the stage now where I'm kind of running out of people I really want to see live. And me and Liz had this conversation because Wembley's such of a nightmare to get in and out of. It'd have to be someone special. And at the top of my head, I couldn't think of one person I'd travel to Wembley and watch. The only exception I would possibly make is Def Leppard. I'd like to see them live.
I've seen them a few times.
I should imagine they're good.
Oh, amazing! I bought one good bill in Cardiff. They were, it was Black Star Riders, aka Thin Lizzy. Then it was White Snake. Then it was Def Leppard, which was, and of course, the first time I saw Def Leppard, I can't remember if I'm sure I've told you this before. First time I saw Def Leppard, I was working for LBC radio in London, and Def Leppard did that Guinness Book of Records thing where they wanted to play 3 concerts in 3 separate continents in the same day, using time differences.
Oh yeah, I remember.
I didn't go to Canada where they did one gig, but I went to Morocco where they did the other and saw them play this acoustic set in a cave underground in Morocco. And I don't know if you remember me telling you, I interviewed Joe Elliott on the plane. We flew in Def Leppard's private jet, and I interviewed Joe Elliott on the plane, and he thought it was hysterical that I was called Jeff. So they nicknamed me Def Jeff, and we'd be on this weekend in Morocco, and you'd hear a shout, "Hey, Def Jeff!" Guys, but they thought that was funny. That was their nickname. But they are a superb live band, really, really good. Yeah, they're touring soon, aren't they? This summer they're going to be in the UK.
Yeah, I was hoping for a Cardiff date, to be honest.
I know. Yeah, I think we're going to go to Birmingham.
I was kind of hoping because we've had a. Okay. Yeah, I was hoping for a Def Leppard because they'd fill that out. They could do 2 or 3 dates there, I think. But yeah, it's I've got some gigs coming up soon. Actually, I got Offspring in November, and then Bryan Adams in December. So
favorite.
Liz has said to me we need to slow down on the concerts here because they're not cheap. As we discussed earlier on, I think you were saying earlier on, Jeff, that, compared to prices that you paid pre-lockdown, was it?
Yeah, double, easy.
So, yeah, but we'll see. Right, I believe it's okay. What's going on here? Oh, boo-hoo, running out, haha. Right, okay. Right, okay. We will head over next to Jeff.
Yep. Now I'm going to
story time with Jeff.
I'm going to stay in Canada.
Okay.
And I'm going to stay with
Convenient.
Rush.
Yeah.
I'm going to stay with Rush. Same thing. One of my first Rush albums was Moving Pictures, which is incredible. And this is the 40th anniversary edition
Yes.
with 2 live CDs. One of their best albums. I mean, it is just. If you ever see that Goldberg's episode, that comedy show, where one of the characters plays one of the other main characters, Tom Sawyer, for the first time, and her eyes just drop open, and suddenly she's converted from a pop fan to a rock fan, and she can't believe how great Rush are. I mean, it's a great album, and as I'm sure Chris knows and is sick of, obviously Rush, their first 2 albums outside Canada were recorded at Rockfield Studios here in South Wales.
Mhm.
And I spoke to, so that was Hemispheres and A Farewell to Kings. And I spoke to Rush's management to see if I'd get an interview. And they didn't really get back to me. And one day the phone rang and I picked the phone up and this guy said, "Hi, is that Jeff?" And I said, "Yeah." It's Geddy Lee from Rush. And I was kind of like speechless for a while.
Wow.
I was just not expecting the call, and there it was. And we had a great chat, and they loved it here in South Wales. And Xanadu on A Farewell to Kings. Remember, I was talking to you before about the courtyard in this farm. You know, the 2 studios are either side of this courtyard. And Rush recorded. It was a hot day. They decided to record Xanadu outside. They took all the studio equipment, the mics, they put it in the courtyard, and they recorded Xanadu. And at the beginning of Xanadu, if you listen carefully, first minute or 2, you can hear these birds tweeting. And Geddy Lee was saying, "Those are Rockfield birds. Those are Welsh birds. They're really them. That wasn't us adding bird effects. That's real birds tweeting around the farm as we're playing this song." And some days, when Neil Peart would be doing a long drum session, long drum rehearsal, Alex Lifeson and Geddy Lee would get a bit bored, and they'd go down the shops, get some paint, and they'd be painting the windowsills in the farm and the studio because they were bored. But and one thing he did say, Geddy Lee, it was very funny. They're used to being in Canada at the time. Bear in mind, this was the 70s. They're used to being in Canada with hundreds of cable TV channels. And he said the one thing they struggled with in Wales at the time, we only had 3 channels.
Yeah.
So he said they put a TV on at midnight and it would be Open University or some kind of bizarre darts exhibition. And he just said, "Oh my gosh," he said, "we struggled with the TV. We absolutely struggled." So no, that was quite funny.
Mind blown.
So
You
Yeah,
talked to
so-
Geddy Lee on the phone. Oh my God.
It's like I didn't hang up on him. Yeah, this is a hoax, isn't it? Yeah.
Right. Smart man.
In fact, I remember once talking to Alan White from Yes, who did a similar thing before he joined Yes. He was a young drummer getting a lot of attention, and John Lennon rang him up and said, "Come to Canada with us to play on our live album with the Yoko Ono band." And he played on Imagine, and he played on a lot of Lennon and George Harrison albums before he joined Yes. But again, he said the same thing. John Lennon rang him up out of the blue and said, "Hi, it's John Lennon. Do you want to join my band?" And he thought for a moment, "Is this one of the guys taking a mick? Is this a hoax call?" And he thought about hanging up. But he said the weird thing was when they did that live album in Canada, he said they literally called him 2 days before it, and they flew him out there with Klaus Voormann and Eric Clapton and Yoko Ono, and they had a little tape player, and he was learning the drums on the headrest of the aeroplane flying out there. And that was all the time he had to learn the songs, which is incredible. But yeah, imagine if he had hung up on Lennon.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah.
Right.
Oops.
More than saying, "Oh, great Goldberg reference." Yes, I had a feeling Jeff might pick that one up. Right. Okay. Back to me. Picked this up recently. I've got the band he was in, their greatest hits, and this is a reprise greatest hits. And this is John Fogerty.
Oh, I've just got that. Yeah, great album.
So it's pretty much he's done what Taylor Swift did. He's reimagined what it would sound like if he brought it out today. And disclaimer, I can't tell the difference.
I can't either. Jeff Lynne did a similar thing with ELO where he said, 20 years on with new technology, I'll re-record all the songs. And he played all the instruments. And I remember listening to it thinking, I can't tell the difference. But yeah, I've been playing that album, his reimagined Creedence Clearwater Revival songs. But to me, they sound exactly the same as the... But still, great voice, great songs.
But I said this to Richard a few weeks ago. I think I showed this either on your live stream or my live stream. I can't remember. But he looks so much better older. Because if you look at him younger, he looks older there than he does now. So I'll just show you the inside. And I'm going to be honest. The first time I ever heard, even before I knew the songs were Creedence Clearwater, but the first time I heard of John Fogerty itself, Fortune's Son, he teamed up with the Foo Fighters to recreate that Fortune's Son, and I thought it was absolutely amazing. But yeah, this came on a nice kind of marble effect. So
Ooh, it is cool.
Really happy with this one. I'll just go through the tracks. Stop me if you know anyone. Up and Around the Bend, Who'll Stop the Rain, Proud Mary, Have You Ever Seen the Rain, Looking Out My Back Door, Someday Never Comes. You've got Wrote a Song, Bootleg, Don't Look Now, Down on the Corner, Bad Moon Rising, Traveling Band, Green River, Fortune's Son. So,
I don't know any of those. Kidding.
So yeah, it's if I'm being perfectly honest, and I say this every live stream, but I think that's pretty much all I need. I've got Creedence Clearwater Revival's Greatest Hits, which is a good Greatest Hits to have.
Very, very, very.
I think their first album is hard to beat. You could just have the first album, couldn't you? It's the other one's pretty good as well, but for a short span of time, what a great bunch of albums they made. It was it was amazing. Okay, what is Morton saying? Someone said today on Normal Apple's video, there is a near as come to Pilgrim as Taylor Swift will ever get. Probably quoting that wrong, but it made me laugh. Probably, yes. Right, okay. I don't know why this is really laggy tonight, but we'll try. Okay, Rich, over to you, mate.
Not laggy for me. It's good. All right. Maybe it's just you. Maybe that storm is still brewing in Wales and it's messing you up. I don't know.
Electric went off. What was it like with you, Jeff? Did you have any electric off? Because the whole of the area in Tenby went off.
No, we're in the capital city. We're fine.
Yeah, they got pavements.
Cardiff was fine.
Yeah.
They don't need the electric. Turn it off. This is a band. I'm actually glad this one popped up too. I was late to this one because I was like, oh, it's their last album. I don't know about it. But then I streamed it and I went, this is an interesting return to form for a band that's been around for like 45 years, give or take. And the band is X. Los Angeles punk legends, and it's almost like rockabilly punk is kind of my take on X. I've seen them a couple of times. Always good. I've always loved Exene and John Doe. Yes, Exene and John Doe's harmonies just hit just the right chords. Their voices are just perfect together, and I can't imagine anyone else doing these songs. But this is their last album, and it's called, because I forget the title, oh God, Smoking Fiction. Thank you. Thank God it's on there. This is their last album. They recorded this last year. This probably would have made my top 10 had I not picked it up early this year. This is a true return to form. It is very punk forward, spot on. The musicianship is just stunning. And for them to say, this is our last album and we're calling it quits, they're still touring as we speak. But this is a fantastic album, and I wouldn't say it's a good place to start with X, but it wouldn't be a bad place either if you've never heard anything by them. Their early albums like Los Angeles and Wild Gift and Under the Black, that one. my favorites. And then they had a run of other albums that didn't really work for me. Some of their later ones, like Alphabet Land, are okay. But short and sweet. This is a super album. It is their very last album. I think I picked black vinyl, but I know there are color variants of it. But yeah, good band, good punk classic that apparently are calling it a day. But they're all getting up there. I understand.
Cool. I've seen that I've seen it about that album. You know, I've seen it about, and I haven't. I'm like, because I got to be honest, I thought that was a rap album, the front cover on that.
Yeah, what? If
Yeah.
you weren't familiar with it, you go, "Oh, that must be some rap hip hop thing." No, this is 70s punk.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wouldn't say start there. I would say stream that first before you go.
Okay.
I'm going to go out and grab it because I don't even know if they do have a greatest hits because I have it on CD. It's like a big double CD affair. But they're a wide. They have a lot going on. Some of their early albums have a different sound to their middle albums, which to me kind of lag. But that's a true return to form. So I'm glad they went out with a bang instead of a whimper like some bands do when they've been around for a while.
That's Richard's way of telling me I'm not sure you'll like this. Cool. So more than he said in message on Instagram. So that's the finished article.
Yeah,
It's getting there. Wow, that's cool.
that makes sense. Yeah. I saw Badly Drawn Boy a few weeks ago supporting Squeeze at Caldecott Castle.
Very
Squeeze
good.
were amazing. He was okay. Squeeze were just unbelievable, incredible. Such a good band.
Rich, have you seen Squeeze? I should imagine you have.
I've not seen Squeeze live, but I have several albums by them. Yep, good band.
Cool, mate. Right, let's keep this rolling then. We will go back with Jeff.
Well, this band again. Again, if you told a 14-year-old me that I'd get to meet all three members and interview them, I'd be been blown away. They were my second favorite band after Yes. Growing up as a teenager, their albums were just so different to anybody else, and still their music is so different. You don't hear anyone like this. It is Emerson, Lake, and Palmer.
Oh, wow.
And this is Brain Salad Surgery. Now, I was sent by the record company, which I was very lucky to get, vinyl, CD, DVD, a whole kind of big box. I think it was about £150 worth of box set. Just incredible. But and of course, the famous album cover done by H.R. Geiger. And of course, H.R. Geiger is the guy who designed Alien from the movies. Alien was his design. But 5 years or 6, 7 years before that movie came out, Keith Emerson traveled to Switzerland and spoke to H.R. Geiger. He'd seen his stuff and said, "Can you do our cover? Can you do this cover for us?" So he did this very striking cover. But yeah, wonderful band, great musicians. Keith Emerson, such an incredible keyboard player. Greg Lake's voice. Carl Palmer is just the best, fastest drummer I've ever seen. And as I said, just blew me away to get to be able to interview all of them. I remember talking to Greg Lake about his solo song, "I Believe in Father Christmas," because of course, big Christmas hit here. I don't know if it is in America as well, but big Christmas hit here every year. But it's a really anti-Christmas song. All the songs are about being deceived, and it's a sham. It's a real anti-Christmas, but no one listens to the lyrics. They just listen to that kind of very Tchaikovsky sound to it, and it just gets to number 1 or number 2 every year, which is very weird. But Emerson, Lake and Palmer used to get a load of stick, but I think they're amazing band.
Yeah, I agree. Okay.
I remember, Chris, you were saying
for me are one of those bands I never picked up on. I don't know why.
But I remember you saying, Chris, about Stuart Cable. Remember, Stuart had a record show. He had a show on BBC Wales and X.
Yeah.
And I remember talking to him once. He was very proud. He said, I think it was Xanadu by Rush, actually. He said, I just played all 11 minutes of Xanadu by Rush on my show. They won't like it. I played all 11 minutes. And I kind of looked at him and said, well, last week I played all 22 minutes of Tarkus. by Emerson,
Wow.
Lake and Palmer. So there. Oh dear, but yeah.
How long? Just a quick question on this one. How long did you get with Stuart to do the book?
Oh my god. We must have spent a year working on it because he took me around Kumamoto a lot. We had 3 or 4 visits to his home where he just spoke about certain things. The centerpiece of the book was, of course, the Who concert, where he knew Roger Daltrey really well from the Stereophonics because they always played their Teenage Cancer Trust. And
Yeah.
when he did some songs with Killing for Company, that band after the Stereophonics, he sent them to Roger Daltrey first and said, "What do you think?" And Roger remembered them. And when the Who did that tour and played the Liberty Stadium in Swansea, he contacted Stuart and said, "We want you to be our support act." And that was a great day. You know, we spent the whole day down stadium there. I think, as I've told you before, the Who's tour manager saying to me, you know, you'll be in Trivial Pursuit, you know. Who's the first voice ever heard at a concert at the Liberty Stadium? And it would have been me. Basically, we were going on stage. The Charlatans were next up on the bill. So it was the Who, the Charlatans, and Stuart Cable's Killing for Company. And as they're going up on stage, the Who's tour manager said, "Guys, you're the first band to ever play at the Liberty Stadium. You've got to be introduced. You can't just turn up on stage." And they kind of all looked around and said, "Well, Jeff introduced us on stage on our headline gig last week. Jeff will do it." So they pushed me with no preparation, just pushed me towards Roger Daltrey's microphone, 30,000 people in front of me at the stadium. "Go on, Jeff, introduce everyone." And I had to kind of ad-lib this, you know, introduction. But it was, which was easy to do, just talk about Who, wind everyone up. But we, and that was the centerpiece of the book. That forms about 2 or 3 chapters of the book. And we must have met him at loads of gigs. I spent a good 18 months with Stuart. He was such a great guy to talk music with. We used to talk music all the time. He was so knowledgeable about music, and we just used to have a great laugh. So yeah, it was great fun, you know.
Oh, wow.
It's quite weird because the first ever gig I went to was the Stereophonics in Morpher Stadium, and they were the last band to ever play there before they ripped it down. So
Yeah.
for Stuart, that must have been quite weird that he was the last person in Morpher Stadium and then the first band to play in the stadium.
Yeah.
So he's done a full circle there. Quite
Yeah.
weird for him.
And one of the best things about that night as well, I'd been chasing Roger Daltrey all week for an interview for the book and it was about Stuart. You know, what do you think of Stuart's new band? Why did you pick him for the stadium? Your friendship. And I think he enjoyed the interview because it wasn't about him. We did this interview for 10 minutes, and I think he enjoyed it because it was him talking about and appreciating another musician. The Who's press guy, though, had given me the runaround all day, and I finally got hold of them. And after the Who's gig, they said, "You can come and see Roger, but he's a bit cold. He had a cup of tea, but blanket over his shoulder. It's a bit cold. He does want to hang around. Just keep it as short as you can, please." So we did this 7, 8, 9 minute interview. I was trying to keep it short. I didn't need much anyway. But I didn't get away for an hour. He kept me and my friend who was taking the photos. We stayed there for an hour talking music with him, just like with Stuart. You know, he was just so into music, Roger, and we were just chatting about bands we liked and who we didn't like. And we were there for about an hour or so before I think my friend said, "I thought you had to leave a while back." We were there for ages. But yes, I mean, yeah, I do miss those chats with Stuart about music. He was just a very kind, fun, really lovely chap to know, you know.
Oops, has Chris frozen up on us?
Oh, I think he has.
Oh, no, he's
cool.
Oh, no, he just blinked.
Chris. Come in, Chris.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay.
I thought I'd bored you to
I
sleep.
think I'm back. No, absolutely not. I got to know Stuart after the Stereophonics, pretty much. And he was going through that whole situation with the lead singer Kelly Jones. And I got become really good friends with Stuart. And my backstory is I used to be a barber. I used to have a shop in Abercynon, near Aberdeen, Pontypridd area. And he scared the living shit out of me one day. So he turns up on his fucking Harley Davidson. 2 secs. Hang on. 2 secs. I think I know what's
You need to wind the Wi-Fi up.
happened there. hang on.
Make the hamster go faster.
Yeah.
Get the kids off the Minecraft. That'll do it. Oh, I hope we haven't lost him. We may have. We'll be on this all night, folks. Just kidding. Oh dear.
Maybe we should do another album while we wait.
We should.
Yeah.
I'll do another one. Chris, hang in there. We'll take the show. I have 3 more. Anyway, this next one is a mastercraft of shoegaze. They were one of the first bigger known shoegaze bands to come out of that whole scene, and it's the band Ride, who I have seen a couple of times. This is a best of that came out for Record Store Day a good 10 years ago. OX4, the best of Ride. So it's the songs like What Have They Done Over the Years? Chelsea Girl was huge. Vapor Trail, Unfamiliar. Leave Them All Behind was enormous. But yeah, I love Ride. I've seen them a couple of times. I actually traveled from here in Denver back to DC to go see them at the 930 Club, which was like my place, my haunt for most of the bands I saw in the 90s. And went back to go see them there just to hear Leave It All Behind in all of its glory. Fantastic live band. This is on, what is it? It's on Red Vinyl? I can't remember. Let's look if I can get it out. Now, because I am the opposite of Chris. Chris has greatest hits, and that's what he plays. I have all the other records, and then the greatest hits, if I just happen to have them, I never play them. So, because I have the album. But yeah, love Ride. They took a long hiatus to get back. And then they came back. They did a reunion in the mid tens, I believe. It was about 10 years ago. They recorded a totally new studio album, and it's excellent. So, yep, I love and adore Ride. Great shoegaze band, originally from the 90s, early 90s, late 80s even. Yeah, and then still recording to this day. Their last album did not jazz me too much, but I still have it because I'm a completist with bands like that. Are you back now, Chris?
Sorry, mate. Can you hear me?
Yeah. We thought we'd fill in for a bit while you were.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we took over.
Yeah. Jeff's going to get this joke. He's going to go, yeah, I got BT broadband.
Dear. You say
So,
that.
I don't know. It's StreamYard has been. Go on. He's taking the piss now. Stop it, Jeff. Honestly, StreamYard, I've just checked. I'm checking my internet connection here because StreamYard has been a nightmare tonight. I don't know what's going on. It's not working properly. So it may be crashing as we speak. So I could hear you guys, but I couldn't see myself. I was just spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning. And then
you were frozen in time.
Oh, you've got no internet. And I'm like, I have what's going on here.
Well, it's your go, I believe.
Good thumbnail. Yeah. Do you know what? I'm going to keep it on this screen because every time I go off the screen, it just talks. So
don't touch.
Yeah. Okay. So an album. What just happened then? Is it gone again? No. Okay.
No.
So an album that Sam St. John recommended to me.
I know what it is.
So it's Tommy Prine.
Ah.
Richard, do you know who his dad is?
John Prine.
Yes. This is an amazing songwriter's album. Absolutely fantastic album. This is highly recommend this to anybody that loves songwriters. Go and pick this up. It's exceptional. And he's talking about his dad the whole way through this album. This album is pretty much dedicated to his dad. It's an amazing album. This just came on black vinyl, and brilliant one on here is Crashing Again. He's talking about how he's missing his dad and he doesn't know how to cope, and he's got a new family, small kid, and he's really struggling without his dad because his dad was always there for him. Mirror and a Kitchen Sink, Boyhood, Letter to My Brother, I Love You Always, which is kind of, I was like, oh, right, we're touching you. So anybody who hasn't heard of that, go and pick this up. There's Sam St. John, who's got a cracking YouTube channel in the vinyl community. I highly, highly recommend this album. So,
and I know Sam was saying that Tommy doesn't really sound or play very much like his father. So they're very distinct identities, which is, always good. I think that it's not just emulating his father.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I love it. So cool. Right, keep going. Jeff,
for me, it's another fanboy moment. Another one of those, if you told a 14-year-old me I'd be doing this, my mind would have been blown. As I said earlier, I was a huge Styx fan. I couldn't find the CD copy of this album tonight, actually. So I found the nearest live album, Return to Paradise, Paradise Theatre from 1980, which didn't make much of a dent in the UK. But what an album. What a fantastic album that was. And Dennis DeYoung's voice, for me, is the best voice in rock. I love his voice. Mm-hmm. And I was lucky to interview him quite a few times. And one of the big ones, I was interviewing him on the phone, and he was at his home in Chicago, and he was on the grand piano, and we were talking about various songs. And I can't remember why we mentioned Lady. And he suddenly said, hey, I'll play it for you. And he starts playing on a grand piano and singing this version of Lady down the phone to me, which I've still got recorded somewhere. This kind of like personal version of Lady, which is incredible. And one of my more surreal moments, I interviewed Styx when I came over here in the late, I think Lawrence McGowan had replaced Dennis DeYoung by then. And I interviewed Tommy Shaw. And when I was talking to Styx manager, it got quite surreal. He started asking me what bands should support Styx over in the UK. What about John Anderson? How about Alan Parsons' project? We just had this really weird conversation asking me who he thought should support Styx, But all their albums, I just love all their albums, and they're such a great band. They started a bit proggy, became much more mainstream rock, but just the harmonies, the vocals, the choruses, they are one hell of a band.
Totally agree. I love early Styx, mid Styx, up to maybe Mr. Roboto, and then
Cool choice, mate. Cool choice. Am I still active?
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
You're good.
You haven't frozen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's telling me. It's telling me at the top of the screen that I've got no internet. I don't know what's going on with StreamYard tonight. Right, okay. For my last one, number 10, guys. This has gone pretty well tonight. Really enjoyed this episode, I gotta be honest. Pick this up this week. And it is What's the Story Morning Glory. This is the box set anniversary box set. So it's got B-sides and unplugged and that kind of stuff, and it's an amazing album. So, didn't manage to. I spoke to Jeff about this actually a few months ago about going to watch Oasis and the prices when Jeff. It was insane.
Yeah,
and I've been quite lucky because I saw them back in 2003, 2004, and the support act were the Foo Fighters.
Oh,
and
nice.
If I'm being perfectly honest, I was more excited that Dave Grohl was coming to Cardiff to watch Oasis. So this came on like an orange kind of red vinyl. It doesn't really show on you, but it's quite a cool pressing.
I was going to say,
This from Oasis's website.
Forget coloured vinyl. The Styx thing came on coloured CD. Whoa. Sorry.
With a deluxe silver back, I'm sure.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yes, it's an amazing album. You know, what can you say? I think this is the best album they've ever done. It's got all the bangers on it. Roll With It, Wonderwall, Don't Look Back in Anger, Some Might Say, Cast No Shadow, She's Electric, Morning Glory. You know, it's amazing. So there you go. That was my choice for this evening. Rich, what have we got left, mate?
One of my favorite things that came out of the Clash camp was when it moved to Big Audio Dynamite.
Yeah.
And I remember hearing this. I remember hearing this for the first time and just being mind blown because I thought it was just going to kind of be an extension of the Clash, and it totally isn't. There's like sound, little sound samples and snippets, and everything from sort of reggae feel to straight up pop staples. Medicine Show. Oh my God, what a song! Almost everything on here. This is another one of those albums you can play straight through. Medicine Show, Sony, E=MC², The Bottom Line. Yes, all of it. Oh my God. Such a good album. Such a good look at this. That's a band.
Yeah, I was playing that album. I was playing that album the other day, actually. It's a great album.
I love this album. And they have maybe 3 albums that really stand out to me. But this is always going to be my go-to. I like 10 Upping Street. I like, what's the red one? Oh, and Rush. I like that song too. But this would be a band. Chris, you would love a greatest hits of Big Audio Dynamite because everything that would be on it would be top-notch. But this album is by itself amazing. This is my OG from way back when. I don't think they ever reissued this other than like CD versions that I know of. But
so Jeff, have you got that on CD? Have you?
Yeah, I've got that on CD as well. Yeah, great. It's really good.
Cool. Right.
Now, my final one then. One of my favorite bands. I've seen them live about 11, 12 times. They're from Finland. They're called the Von Herzen Brothers. I don't know if you can see that. They're the lead singer, Mika. They're 3 brothers. They are 3 brothers, Von Herzen Brothers. Mika, the lead singer, has just the most amazing, beautiful voice. Great guitarist. There's one song on here. It's somewhere in the middle. It's 7 minutes long, but the guitar it puts Dave Gilmour and Mark Knopfler to shame. It's beautiful guitar work.
Oh wow!
And the harmonies as well. The great harmonies, great guitar work, wonderful songs. And recently, the last 4 or 5 albums have all made the UK top 10 in the album charts. They've been getting in Finland. They sell huge amounts of records, but they've been getting big success across the UK and Europe now as well, and much deserved. And yeah, check out the Von Herzen Brothers. These guys are amazing. Yeah.
Cool. Very cool, mate. Morten, how's it going?
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yep.
I just thought I'd pop in and show you one record because I thought I should add something Scandinavian to your fine live stream here.
Yeah.
And I just want to show you guys this record.
Aha.
So this is True North by Aha. And it's one of the more gorgeous records I have, at least visually. It's probably, we don't know, but it might be their final album. So this came out in 2022 and comes with a download chip here for the film that they made for the record. And it's just got stunning visuals from Norway. And as you can see, hopefully, And why is this probably their last album? Well, I don't know if you if you guys keep up with Aha much, but the news earlier this spring was that Morton, my namesake, has been diagnosed with Parkinson's.
Mm.
And he's being, fairly clear with saying that it is affecting him, but it's also affecting his singing. So, like I said, we don't know if he'll return on a record. There was a photo here I wanted to show. There we are.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so the whole album was made with a visual accompanying it, which I thought was very beautiful. And now I guess maybe if it's their final album, it will be a little more special. But yeah, I just wanted to show you guys that, so we could add something from Scandinavia to your live stream.
Cool, mate. I'm actually glad you came on, Morton, because I wanted you to speak to Jeff. I know you've been watching the live stream, but like the amount of artists that Jeff has interviewed, and like Morton loves Wales, if nobody's guessed already. So was it Swansea you went to, or was it Cardiff, Morton?
Me? Well, I've been both places. Yeah.
What's your favourite?
Well, I've been to Cardiff how many times now? 4 times. I haven't really had reason to return to Swansea. I had a couple of friends who were work colleagues and friends, and they were very into Doctor Who for a while.
Yeah.
And they sort of dragged me along, and I was very into craft beers and music, obviously, also at the time. So I was very interested in going, and they sort of rekindled my science fiction interest as well. And we went to Doctor Who, the Doctor Who exhibition in Cardiff twice.
Yeah.
Once for Matt and once for Capaldi.
Okay.
And obviously now it's closed, and we all fell off the whole Doctor Who wagon towards the end of Capaldi when we saw what was happening with the show, and we just found that it was no longer about storytelling and science fiction. It was about the cult. I would say, whether you agree with things or don't agree with things, it's not so nice when your science fiction program turns into a soapbox for people with various meanings, and that's what we felt that Doctor Who unfortunately turned into. And now, of course, it's been ransacked with that terrible story where they basically made Doctor Who into a character who's been reborn 1 billion times, and with experiments on alien babies, and we just decided we don't like it anymore. But Cardiff was just genuinely, I would love to have gone back, but COVID came. Actually, we had something planned, and I actually got into Swansea University, but they wouldn't give me a loan, so student loan. No, Norway, not a member of the EU, so. Back then, £25,000 a year for tuition.
Wow.
So no political historical studies for you, mate. Sorry.
Well, you're not missing much in Swansea, Morton. I'll just say that. I think Jeff will second me on that one.
It's a shitty city.
Pretty shitty city, yes, from Twin Town. Yes, it is. Jeff, so many great stories, mate. Like, Lemmy's my favorite. I gotta be honest. You spoke to, Getty Lee on the phone. It's like
getting drunk with Lemmy. Yeah, I know. Like I say, for me, it goes in my head. I still think, if you told a 14-year-old me watching Top of the Pops, one day you'll be reading a message from Phil Collins to Robert Plant, it just blows my mind still, But the very fortunate experiences working for my rock show and doing the book, it's allowed me, to meet. And the same way when I was at the BBC, I'm a big rugby fan, and I met a lot of my sporting heroes as well through that. So it is incredible. They always say don't meet your heroes, but in my experience, do, because they're generally very nice people. I remember some of the younger bands, it's very rare, but sometimes the younger bands can be a bit precious and a bit prima donna-ish. But I remember interviewing, David Coverdale from Whitesnake, and I was a bit scared. You didn't think, well, this is a big famous artist, I better not ask any silly questions. And the same with Rob Halford from Judas Priest. But they treat everyone like you're their best mate. And I think that they know, because they're so accustomed to this, and they know how to treat people, and they make you feel so at home. I remember David Coverdale, when I introduced myself to him, and I said, I'm just Jeff Collins from Sunshine Radio. And he just said, Sunshine Radio? In the UK? Don't you mean pissing down with Rain FM? Hysterical, but they know how to treat people, and they make you feel at home, and they make you feel at ease. And I've always found that, my two favorite bands, Yes and Emerson Lake and Palmer, I've met most of those bands, and it's been a wonderful experience. One of my favorites, interviewing Jeff Downes, the keyboard player from Yes and the Buggles and Asia, on stage with Yes, and I was interviewing after rehearsal, and he was stood at his keyboards, and he just went through his rig, demonstrating how he recreated classic Yes sounds from classic Yes songs. I'm recording this all thinking, this is incredible. This is how we do Awaken. This is how we do the Mellotron from And You and I. And I was just like, wow, can't believe I'm stood here having you demonstrate this. But very fortunate, very lucky, and it's been, amazing.
Wow. It's been my experience meeting famous people too. I've met Gary Newman many times. I've met Bob Mould several times. They've always been personable and upfront. Very rarely you get the, we've heard stories of a-holes. Oh, there you go. A-hole musicians who are just like, they're just fed up. They just want to get on the bus and get on to their next gig or whatever, and they're blow you off. But fortunately, I've never had that experience.
Well, Bob Mould, one of my favorite bands, Sugar. What a band. And the Copper Blue, one of my favorite albums of all time. That is a terrific
it is awesome.
Album. It's a terrific album. Yeah.
Jeff, I got a question for you. Have you ever met Feeder?
Yes. A long time ago.
The reason I asked that is because Richard is the biggest Feeder fan I know. Right. So go ahead.
Well, I'll send you. I've got a photo of me with the lead singer. And it's a bit grainy, because when would it have been? 2007, 2008, or maybe before. It was a really, it was one of my favorite venues in Cardiff called The Point. It was an old church which they converted into a music venue, so it had a very big high stage. And I saw Feeder there a few times. I mean, they are, I've got most of their albums. They're a terrific band. One of my weirdest moments at the church, actually, was it 2007, the Rugby World Cup? A friend of mine really liked Marillion. We went along to interview Fish. Fish was doing a solo gig, and he played all the Marillion stuff, the classic Marillion songs. And my friend was so chuffed to meet him, because he'd seen the official Marillion a few weeks earlier with Steve Hogarth, and he'd been a bit disappointed that they hadn't played a lot of Fish era songs, and a lot of their stuff was quite mellow. So he was chuffed to see Fish. But we did this interview with him, and he was in a really good mood because his team, Hibs, had beaten Celtic, and he was in a very good mood. And then he said, we were about to leave, and he said to us, Scotland are about to play the All Blacks in the World Cup. Do you want to come across to the pub and watch it with us? So we trooped across to the pub and spent the afternoon watching Scotland All Blacks with Fish, which was incredible. But Feeder, I've got a lot of time for them. Very, very good band.
Their last album was my number one album for last year. Love it.
Oh yeah, the new album is really good.
That album is so good. That was my favorite album from last year. It is excellent.
Let me just make you big and make 2 secs.
That's
There you go. Okay.
Yeah, I was listening to this while I was listening to you guys earlier. I got this last week. It took me a long time. We got one store selling new CDs here in Oslo, and they didn't seem to be able to get it for some reason. But I was buying this on Friday.
They're coming to Denver in a few weeks.
Oh, shut up! And then,
I won't tell you I saw them in the 90s at the 930 Club, and they played with Yola Tango.
yeah, you were probably holding the last person to hold Hanson's hand as well, weren't you? No, but I would nearly grab the Stephen Malkmus record, and I was heading towards the till when I don't go often to the second-hand part of Big Dipper because we have a different place for that. But I found this.
Oh, nice.
Nice, mate.
Very cool.
And that obviously came on with me immediately because I never seen this one in the wild here in Norway, at least. So not on CD either. It's 15 years old now, I think, 2010. So yeah, because I just basically a few days ago finally got this one on vinyl as well.
Oh, cool.
Oh, yes.
And after actually seeing the film again, because unlike many other people, I haven't thrown out all my DVDs, and it's not available on streaming.
It's quite weird
Yeah.
that About a Boy, the actor from About a Boy, isn't in the new Superman film.
I don't like that. I was watching the film and thinking, I don't like that you're Lex Luthor now. That kind of ruins the whole, the whole thing where he throws a loaf of bread on the duck. I'm thinking that wasn't an accident because he was becoming Lex Luthor.
You've done that on purpose, you little bastard. You knew what you were doing. So what's your favorite band at the moment, or your favorite go-to band? Have you got one at the moment?
Me?
Yeah. So obviously mine's the Stereophonics.
I'm very I have this thing where I'm very loyal towards bands, so I have a hard time saying one band over another.
Okay.
I mean, for example, if you're going to ask me what's your favorite band from Wales, I'm going to be conflicted because, as much as I absolutely love one of them, I equally love the other one. So it's either Super Furry Animals or Manic Street Preachers from Wales, for example.
So Jeff, have you met Super Furry Animals?
No, I haven't. No.
And from Scotland, I like Bell and Sebastian.
Yeah. Have you met Gruff, Jeff?
No, I haven't. Yeah.
No, not a chance. Me and Morton have been going back and forth the last couple of days because Super Furry Animals are in Cardiff and sent in the ticket prices. But I realised that was for actually a suite in the CIA in Cardiff. I think it was like 170 pounds?
172 pounds, I think it was.
Good Lord.
So I said to him, I'll have to give
to
that
see a bunch of sheep shaggers. No, sorry, I won't say that. No,
So
but
cool.
what was the other thing I was thinking of in that regards? Yeah, because I would have loved to see them up in Llandudno.
Llandudno, yeah, well done.
Yeah, that would have been awesome because it's a place I would love to have gone one day as well.
There's a castle there. And it's, I've been to Llandudno. One of my mates used to work on the cruise ship with Brandon. He was in a band touring. And I met him up there and he was like, mate, there's just a freaking castle here. Yeah. It's literally just a castle. It looks, I tell you what it reminds me of. It reminds me of Blackpool with a castle. So, yeah.
Well, the thing that I have a bit of a problem with people saying that, oh, yes, well, we went to Wales and we saw all the wonderful castles. and I'm like, oh, and then you went to Poland and you saw all the wonderful concentration camps. Because to me, all the castles in Wales represent Norman repression and slavery of the Welsh people. So I'm not sure I'm so fond of them. But they don't tell you that in the tourist brochures, do they?
No. That's cool. What I'll do, Morten, I've got your details. I'll have Jeff to sign the book and I'll send it to you. Same with you, Rich. Same with Rob. Or when I get to meet up with Jeff, we can actually meet up at some point because it's been conflicting at the moment. Either I've been working or something's come up or freaking trains ain't working. I was supposed to meet up with Jeff in the Prince of Wales in Cardiff a few days ago for his birthday, but the trains weren't running.
All the trains in southern Norway stopped yesterday. Everything. And this was when people were trying to get home because a lot of the roads were closed because of Amy had torn several roads apart. And just an hour's drive from here, you know, people were having to hide inside their houses because like pieces of sheet metal came flying. You had a woman who were filming from her porch, and you could actually see the piece of sheet metal hit her in the head, and you could see the blood pouring on the deck that she was standing on. And people's, recreational boats were just being thrown all over the place. And for some reason, we were lucky here in Oslo, and it sort of died out before it managed to squeeze its way up the fjord to us. But a couple of metro lines were closed because trees fell on the street and everything. So we got a fairly heavy dose of Amy up here in Norway yesterday.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
guys,
it was pretty bad in Tenby. I'm not going to lie.
I've got to dash and say goodbye.
Yeah,
I'm going
to end this now. So I'd like to thank all my guests this evening. Jeff, thank you very much. As usual, Richard, Morten, thanks for jumping on, mate. Really appreciate it. And just, telling everybody kind of who you met, your backstory, that kind of thing. And I will put a description. I will put a description below for everybody's channels popped on tonight, and I'll put a link for Jeff's book on Amazon as well, which you can go and check out. So thank you for the comments. Thanks very much for watching, and from me and Richard, we will catch you next week.